I was just looking at my YouTube channel and I realized it's been 3 years since I made a video, which seems crazy because it seems like it was just the other day. I think what I wanted to do is just turn the video on and see what came to me, but then I realized there's something that came up the other day that I was thinking about that really struck me, and I think it's the idea of making the feeling of being at peace, the natural feeling we have when we wake up in the morning before we have any thoughts come into our head, just being. And we make that peace contingent on something else. We make it contingent upon the sun being out or a conversation with your partner going the right way. You share a thought with them and they respond in a positive way. And it's like, oh, well, oh, yeah, I feel better now. But what's crazy is we don't realize that that's there the whole time. It isn't the peace or the sense of simply being the presence that we are that comes and goes. It's like the sun. A great example I think is the sun. We so quickly say like, God, I wish the sun would come out. And yet it's like we all know the sun never goes anywhere. The sun's always shining. The clouds come and go. And I know that seems silly, like, yeah, I know, duh, but it's like, no, really. Think about what kind of a shift that can create inside yourself when you realize it's the same thing with the peacefulness and the contentment that we seek almost all the time. How many things that we're doing in our lives are we really just trying to get to a place where we let go of the striving and the stress and the anxiety and we just freaking breathe? We just exhale, and we make that something that we run towards and that we don't. In other words, we run towards, the only thing you run towards are the things you believe you don't have, right? You're not going to strive to make money if you have $1 billion. Well, that's not necessarily true. Bad example, because plenty of people do that. But what I mean is, like, if you're not going to like go to the store to buy food, or like oh, I got to go in the kitchen and make a sandwich if you're not even remotely hungry. So, but yet we do that with this. We do that with peace. We believe it's not here, so we run towards it. And the crazy thing that I see in the world that I do in my own life is that we create stressful situations supposedly to make ourselves happy. And I think what actually happens is that when the situation comes, like let's say an event, like, oh, we're going to plan this birthday party for so and so. It's going to be amazing, and it's super stressful planning it, and everybody's running around stressed out, and there's all this pressure on the occasion. And if it doesn't go right, it's going to be the end of the world. And then finally, the day comes and you go to the party. And usually, if you're like most people, you give a great big sigh of relief when it's finally freaking over. When you finally sit down on the couch after all the guests have gone, you're like, oh, thank God that's over. And yeah, there's satisfaction about maybe making the person, quote unquote, making the person happy that you threw the party for. But really, it's like, if you look at what we really did, didn't we just run around and do so much stressful stuff to give ourselves permission to simply let go and be exactly what we were before we started the crazy stressful process? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe before we meditate, maybe before we do yoga, before we go for a walk, before we, I don't know, call up that friend to go out and do something, or we go to this fun, sporting event or whatever it is, maybe stop and check and see, like, wait a minute, before I go chasing after the feeling of peace, the feeling of calm, contentment, joy, happiness, what if I just checked inside right now, close my eyes, and like a little kid that doesn't know the answer to the question yet, like you haven't learned all these different practices and you haven't heard all these things, what if you just went in with an idea of like discovery and looked inside and said, wait a minute, what's here right now? And just look. And thoughts may come. That's okay. Just let them pass by, let them, give them space, let them calm down, and then just see what's here right now. And if you actually give yourself a minute or 2 minutes or even 5 and just ask with that real curiosity, like you're 3 years old and you've never seen a flower before, you've never seen this bug before. Just look inside just like that. And don't try to find something. Don't expect to find something. Just be open, super wide open, that you don't have any idea what you're going to find, like a scientist looking at a rare butterfly. Just see what's here. Is what's here stressed out? Is what's simply noticing the feeling in my body, the breath coming and going, the feeling of my feet on the floor, or the feeling of sitting on the couch? Is what's noticing that caught up in the stress, or is there just a feeling in the body of some kind of energy, some kind of anxiety? Is there noticing of the thoughts? So I just want to introduce that idea, I think it's a real gift to realize that, sometimes we don't even notice there's a gap where we have this idea that something's missing and we just go running and running after it. We don't even notice, like, wait a minute, is it really missing? So maybe just try that out, and this is something I need to continually remind myself of too, because I get caught over and I jump over that gap. There is a gap between every feeling and emotion and our compulsive need to take action. There's actually a gap that exists between that thing happening or coming in and us running after it and us taking an action to fix it. So if we just stop, if we're able to, obviously sometimes circumstances don't allow us to stop and close our eyes or whatever, but even if you're taking a walk, just be really mindful about looking inside a little bit, checking in with your body and seeing what's actually there, and then seeing if maybe some of that peace and some of that contentment that you're running after is already here. And hopefully you can start to see that it is there. And then each time the urge to run after it comes, maybe just think, wait a minute, am I doing it again? Am I running to try to find something that I've always possessed, something that maybe is actually what I am?